Okay, we're gonna start streaming. Now there is a new movie out with Robert Pattinson in it, and I'm trying not to really ruin this, but I'm gonna go to my little thing here and get on my filters that I've been doing, and I probably shouldn't have done this, but I'm gonna go with defaults here just to change things back. And it's gonna look a little weird, okay? It's gonna look a little weird. I kind of want to blow myself out. You know, this stars Robert Pattinson as Charlie, Zendaya as Emma, Elena Ham from Licorice Pizza, and recently One Bite After Another. She plays Rachel, and I don't know his name, but he plays Mark. I think it's Mamadou Athi. He plays Mike, not Mark. And that's all I'm going to name. I won't go ahead and drink my Sprite, but basically, you know, Robert Pattinson is used to playing those awkward, weird roles. You know, he's usually doing it like in something like Mickey 17, but he's also used to playing these romantic roles, you know. Recently he was in Die My Love with Jennifer Lawrence. Now he's in another crazy movie with Zendaya. So this is the IMDb page. Let's just really see. Let's see what people are saying. I should have loaded my playlist here, but it's gonna open a new channel, new page. Yeah, you can say I've been playing Resident Evil Rec Room.
Resident Evil Mania's back, baby! I mean, it's been back for some years.
Yeah, he did a review of that. Okay.
We'll try as we might. We can't always eliminate the drama from our lives. We can, however, eliminate the drama when finding our perfect athletic fit. Bringing you the sponsor of this video. This video is brought to you by Fabletics. Because summer's right around the corner. Now is the
We'll go ahead and skip.
progress that will change you forever. And now, wow, this movie's funny. And dark.
Yeah, it's pretty dark.
So the drama's written and directed by Christopher Borgli, stars Robert Pattinson and Zendaya as a couple in love. They're gonna get married on Saturday. These are the days leading up to their wedding. They're hanging out with the best man and the maid of honor. They're all knocking the wine back. They start playing the game of, all right, so everyone say the worst thing you've ever done. So Zendaya, that's not her name, Emma, she says hers. And the mood in the room goes oddly silent. It goes from, yay, friends forever, to
Emma, what the fuck?
Yeah, the movie pops off with, okay, everyone say the worst thing you've ever done. And someone actually says the worst thing they've ever done. Now, funny enough, I didn't know much about this movie. The biggest thing I knew about this movie was the biggest,
No one did.
yet most cost-efficient marketing campaign ever. When a photo was released of Zendaya and Robert Pattinson, and the internet melted. Oh my god, are they together? Where's Tom? The picture was what I would later see as one of the posters for the movie, just without the poster text. Brilliant. It's really all the campaigning you need. Yeah, the trailer doesn't actually tell you what the thing is, so I'm not going to tell you what the thing is. Because the film poses a few conversation starters here. Do you really know the person you're with? And who they were back when? Literally half of her lifetime ago. Does that matter in terms of who she is now? I mean, a dude's gonna want to know this information. And no, internet, you put those keyboards down. It doesn't have to do with body count. Well, but yeah, as I talk about it, it sounds like a heavy drama, and it does deal with heavy subject matter, but it is a comedy. That's when I had to look into the director, because I can't actually think of a movie of his that I've seen, or maybe I just didn't know his name. There's a lot of short films, but yeah, I haven't seen Dream Scenario. I was like, this guy's definitely not American. I guess he lives in America. Yeah, he's Norwegian. Which kind of makes sense. Not that he's Norwegian, but that he's not an American director. I feel like most American writers or directors would be like, okay, And what gets this party started? What pops it off in this romantic comedy? No, I'm not touching that. Not with a 10-foot pole. Robert Pattinson and Zendaya, huh? No. I like the fact that he did. I mean, he wrote it and directed it, so I guess that conversation wouldn't happen because it's his film throughout. Point is, I appreciate the fact that this taboo subject matter is in a dark comedy that also has an interesting conversation you can have after watching it. Weird that I've gotten this far into the video, haven't even talked about the stars holding this movie up. Robert Pattinson and Zendaya, they're great. They have a likable charisma to the both of them. You buy their relationship, you're rooting for them. It actually is illustrated. In the beginning, you learn two things. One, these two are in love. They're about to get married. Two, you're in for some pretty interesting editing as the film goes on. Because in terms of the editing and the flashbacks and the very beginning of the film, you're pretty caught up to speed with these two. It's all Pattinson listing off his vows, his speech he's going to give at the wedding, and then it shows flashbacks of the scenarios. Done. It's been great to see these two evolve as actors throughout the years. Decades. Well, for him, it's decades. For her, it's decade. My introduction to Zendaya was Spider-Man Homecoming. And getting back to the meat of the film.
Yep, mine too.
We've all had that thought cross our mind. You're laying in bed next to someone. Maybe you've been dating them for a couple years, couple months. Maybe you just met. But you have that thought going, how well do I really know this person that I've shared these moments with? And that's one of the many reasons many of us have decided just to remain single for the rest of our lives. Kind of reminded me of a darker version of So I Married an Axe Murderer. Kind of. But yeah, the editing was also pretty awesome in the film. There are moments where she's talking about the situation and it shows younger her. It shows a younger actress playing her, but she's saying the words. There are interesting moments like that in the film in terms of how someone now sees her or how she sees herself. But that's what it is. It's this couple dealing with this situation as their wedding's coming up this week. From his perspective, he feels like he doesn't know the woman he's about to spend the rest of his life with. And from her perspective, the love of her life and their friends will never see her the same way again. All the while, the film's asking you, the audience, could you look past it? Should it matter? Also, how well do you really know the person you're with? But it is a testament to you can't unring a bell, you can't unknow something about someone. And once you know the thing, even with all those things in mind that you will consciously think of, are you able to get past it? Oh, I don't like that. On the other hand, she didn't do the thing. On the other hand, it's pretty awful. However, it was half of her lifetime ago. She was a kid. But she's not the same person now she was then. If Jean-Luc Picard is no longer the cadet that got stabbed by the Nausicaan at the Domjot table, she's not the same. The movie doesn't make that comparison. That's me. And the film does a really good job at that. For every point to be made, there is a, on the other hand, counter argument that goes along with it. There could be Jubilee YouTube video debates solely about this movie. I am here debating 25 future baristas getting their BAs and BS on whether or not we should look past Emma's past. Okay? I can see this being one of those movies where people are gonna love it or hate it, but if they like it, it's gonna be like 8 or 9 out of 10. And if you don't like the movie, it's gonna be a 1 or 2 out of 10. It's gonna be a divisive movie, man. But for me, I loved it. I thought it was great. It was heavy, hilarious, engaging. I've been unpacking it since I watched it. It's uncomfortable at times. There are situations, moments of dialogue where I was like, I want to go, but I can't look away. It's great to see a film take heavy subject matter, play with it in a way that makes you laugh, but never compromises how heavy it actually is. In a world of a lot of safe, sterile Hollywood slop, the drama feels refreshing. My one hang-up, I guess it's not a hang-up, it's a me thing, I suppose. I'm watching the movie going, how do you even wrap a film like this up? Then the movie ends, and I was like, oh, I guess that's how you can just end it. Even the dude next to me went, oh, I thought it, he said it. All right, I guess it's over. I mean, you get the gist. I get what the ending is and what it means, but still. And I feel like it'll be really easy for people to get caught up on the catalyst, the thing that gets the drama to pop off in the drama.
That
the film is using that for people to take home a deeper conversation about the human experience, and I appreciate that. I think the drama's worth watching and worth buying on Blu-ray. Alright, so the drama, have you seen it? What did you think about it? Or what's your favorite dark comedy? Or drama? Or comedy? We'll expand it. Whatever it is, whatever you think. Comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.
Yeah, I think the movie was
The whole Resident
Evil degenerates running.
thought it was quite crazy how the movie was, because it's not typical. It doesn't end on your typical way, and it's I thought it was rather boring, honestly. But we're still starting the year, so I don't want to stay up too late tonight because I gotta work. But I don't know. I just think that the movie is a little too much. It's too. I didn't get my hopes up about it for a distinctive reason. I still need to rewatch Hail Mary. Project Hail Mary. Sorry. This is Project. These reviewers have a little bit too much. They do a little bit too much. This mod makes Grace unstop. I'm about to watch that later. Let's go ahead and see what you guys think.
The Drama, which is a darkly satirical, it's got a non-rom-com, written and directed by the Norwegian filmmaker Christopher, I think it's Borgli, B-O-R-G-L-I, so I'd say Christopher Borgli, who made Dream Scenario. Remember I reviewed Dream Scenario, which is the film in which Nick Cage is this kind of schlubby guy who suddenly starts turning up in everyone's dreams and becomes a sort of superstar as a result of it, and then everything goes blackly horrible and wrong. So that film was produced, like this new film, by Ari Aster. Now, you remember how much you and I love Ari Aster?
No, you love Ari Aster.
You remember how much fun we had?
I'm quite happy not seeing it anymore.
Okay, well, you know what the kind of tone of Ari Aster's movies is like? Yep, you're not allowed to make that noise any more than I'm allowed to make
Don't
it.
tell me that this is another one like that.
Well, there is a tonal connection. So, the new film, The Drama, stars Zendaya, Robert Pattinson, Mamadou Ache, I beg your pardon, Alana Haim, Hayley Gates, and Zoe Winters. So, Zendaya and Arpat are Emma and Charlie. They're this young couple. They're like 30 or something, which to me is young. They're approaching their wedding. We meet Charlie. He's writing his wedding speech, and he's telling the story of how they met. So we see a little bit of flashback. They met in a coffee shop. He saw her reading a book. He hadn't read it, but he was trying to impress her, so he pretended to have read it. He started talking to her. She didn't hear him because she's deaf in one ear and she had an ear pod in the other ear. He found the whole meet cute, incredibly charming, fell in love with everything about her, including her weird laugh. One evening, they go out with the maid of honor and her partner, and they are finalizing the food and drink for the wedding. They've all eaten and drunk too much, and they start having one of those conversations in which they start playing a game, which is, what's the worst thing you've ever done? Which is a foolhardy game for anyone to play.
Never ever play games like that.
Never, particularly when you've eaten and drunk too much. So one of them says a confession about something to do with a dog. Another one has a confession about cyberbullying. Another one has a confession that they once locked this kid in a cupboard. But when it gets to Emma, who's Zendaya's character, she confesses to doing something, in fact, not even doing it, but having thought of doing something that she then didn't do, that is considered to be so outrageous that it basically derails everything. Here's a clip from the trailer.
Are you going to use the first time we met?
Yes.
Okay, what about the first date?
Yeah, of course. You don't have to do a speech.
So you're saying Charlie is your first love?
Yeah.
First love or your first crush?
Both, I think. What does that say?
At 30?
You know how it's very...
Fine if we all...
And... Serious?
Is so baffled that he starts to wonder whether he actually knows his bride-to-be. All of them are basically astonished that she could even have thought such a thing, despite the fact that they live in a country where this particular thing, which incidentally she did not do, but she thought of doing, is horrifyingly common. And then the rest of the film is this kind of toe-curling black comedy in which the rails come off as the wedding approaches, zooming towards them. The irony of it all being that the person who's at the centre of it sort of being vilified for thinking about doing something without doing it is actually probably the most reasonable of all of the people. I mean, I thought it was. I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know what the thing was. Obviously, it's not revealed in the trailer. Actually, weirdly enough, just before I went into the film, which I didn't even know who was in it, I only knew the title was the drama. And Tim Roby, who's a colleague of mine, said, "Do you know the twist?" And I said, "I didn't even know there was a twist. I don't even know what sort of film it is." He said, "Great, because everyone's been telling me what the twist is, and I didn't. So I had no idea at all." So if you can possibly go and see this, just thinking, I like those actors, maybe I like the director's previous film, don't find out anything else about it. I thought it was excruciating, but in a good way. Although I remember that you and I have different versions of what excruciating.
Something that you should.
Because it was Beau is Afraid, wasn't it? The more you didn't laugh, the funnier I thought it became. I thought watching people tying themselves up in knots whilst trying to deal with something that didn't happen was profoundly, entertaining in the worst sense of the word. I mean, on the one hand, it's a classic kind of bourgeois social satire in the manner of something like, Robert Altman's A Wedding or Margot at the Wedding, which again, it's all these forces sort of coalescing around something in which you have to maintain the illusion of politeness even as existential chaos is lurking. I also think, and this may be personal, I think it is a rather pointed political satire. There is, in fact, one moment in which the discussion become very heated, and somebody says, "Oh, so America is to blame?" To which I thought, yes, it is. Absolutely. I think others will feel differently, and I think that one of the things that impressed me about the movie is that the way in which you respond both to the revelation and also to the way people respond to the revelation will depend very much on how you yourself view and contextualize the central revelation. I mean, personally, I was on side with Zendaya's character, but the movie is clearly designed to allow you to have a number of different responses. I mean, it helps that the performances are pretty much note perfect. And the script, although the script is outlandish, it never descends into ludicrous caricature. I mean, yes, things get out of hand. If you've watched the trailer, you'll know that things definitely come off. The wheels definitely come off when it gets to the wedding. But like Beau is Afraid, I suspect that I found this a lot funnier than you would find it. But I think that you would find that there is a really interesting idea at the center of it, which is, on the one hand, it's how much do you know people? There's a lot of stuff about when were you going to tell me this? Well, do you tell every detail of your past life to everybody? If you're about to get married, you say, incidentally, there are things in my past that you don't know anything about, and here I am clearing house. And the thing that makes it work so well is that it comes up by mistake at the end of a drunken evening when they are playing a stupid game. And for me, the moment when they started to play the game of what's the worst thing you've ever done, because bear in mind, I hadn't even seen the trailer. I didn't even know they were going to do that. It was like, stop, get up now, get a cab. This will not end well.
Particularly if it's not the worst thing you've done, it's the worst thing you thought of doing, which takes it into a whole new category.
Precisely, because what was that phrase that you once used? You said there are three sides to anybody, which is...
Well, this was Gabriel Byrne. So this is in the Gabriel Byrne interview that he did for us, and he talked. It was something like, you have there's a public side to you, there's a private side to you, and there's a secret side to you. It's something like that.
That's right. And also there's the question of, well, you thought about doing it and you started to think that you were going to do it and then you didn't do it. At what point does thinking about something... Anyway, whatever. I thought it was a really interesting movie. I was really engaged with it. I thought the performances were great, and I found a lot of it absolutely excruciating, but in a way that I really enjoyed.
Well, if anything is going to make me watch an Ari Aster film, it's having Zendaya and Robert Pattinson in it.
Yeah, but it's not an Ari Aster film. He's a producer, so it is from, as I said, it's from the director of Dream Scenario, but his name is on it. And the moment his name came up, I thought two things. I thought, firstly, that says something tonally, and secondly, I really wonder what Simon May would think of this.
But it's interesting. So the two of the biggest movies. So when Robert Pattinson was on, I think then we talked about how every decision he'd made since being in Twilight was to make him less of a movie star. Whereas you can't get a bigger movie star at the moment than Zendaya. She's just absolutely huge. But maybe Robert Pattinson is now becoming a movie star again.
Yeah, but the film plays very much like an indie A24, that kind of film.
It didn't happen. There was no history of it happening. Therefore, she didn't do it.
Hey, everybody. Today I am going to be reviewing The Drama. This was directed by Christopher Borgli. I've seen this movie being described as a deconstructed rom-com, a black comedy, dramedy, a satire of sorts, but I would say none of those elements take center stage. It's more like we're probing, we're jostling the natural order of a situation over and over again. It is very art house in nature because it is A24, but it's also very infused with Northern European sensibilities, which also makes sense because the director is European, Norwegian specifically. But yeah, so that means that the aesthetic of the movie is very minimalist chic. It's a lot of dreary cityscapes, large apartments, lofts with very high ceilings, and everything is in white. But the experience of the film, I think, is filtered through kind of a glitchy, flighty, more experimental elements, and they are employed specifically to help us navigate modern-day relationship complications. This movie is about a young couple who is planning their wedding. Emma and Charlie, played by Zendaya and Robert Pattinson, and they seem to have it all. They seem to be very in love with each other. They're financially successful. They're good looking, all the things. But one night they are out with their friends and they're out drinking, and they decide to play a game where they each confess some of the worst things that they have ever done, and they don't plan on bringing it up again. So they go around the room and they're getting it off their chest, and finally when they get to Emma and she reveals her little secret, it sets off a chain reaction of very high emotions. Her friends are disturbed and upset, and Charlie is utterly bewildered and lost, but he's often quite lost in this film, unable to take accountability. So on the surface, I think it's obvious what this is about. It's about cold feet, essentially. It's about the secrets that we hide from each other, particularly in the high-stakes game of romance. From the minor inconveniences to the serious aspects of our past, do we really know the person who is sitting across from us at the dinner table or lying in bed right next to us? The marketing of this, I would say, sells it as a rom-com with a twist, or Zendaya has this deep, dark secret, and we have to know what it is. And thus, a lot of the tension for the audience, unfortunately, is going to hinge on that key piece of information being revealed to us. And it is revealed early on, but I have to say, my experience watching it, I think there is more to this film than meets the eye. It is an uneven experience for me, but I think there are deliberate artistic choices here that make the whole experience more complex than you might initially perceive. It had me intrigued the entire time, and I do want to see this film again. To me, this is about how society has coddled the human experience to where we are terrified of discomfort, terrified of facing ourselves and accepting or not accepting that thin veneer between civility and brutality that naturally exists in humans. The things that we choose to compartmentalize and the things that we choose to reveal in order to build a healthy foundation in a relationship. When that love gets tested and the dam is blown wide open, we cling to this idea of starting over, recontextualizing each other's situation and pain again and again and again. Sometimes it's the only way that you can survive or get through something. This film, I think, is also about modern culture, or social media, I should say, and how it all feels like this giant town hall a lot of the time, where it's like anybody can be grabbed and burned at the stake at the center and shut down for their primordial sins. Is there true capacity for change in the human spirit, or reformation of one's identity? Is there the ability to forgive in humans anymore? Or are we all too angry and too performatively virtuous to where we won't tolerate any gray areas? This is also about how controversial information can be torn apart by reactions, whether they are dismissive or hypocritical, whether the context exists or not, and how that can all spin out into massive destruction. This film is heavily directed, and normally I do find that distracting, but here I found a lot of these technical flourishes intriguing because of how well implemented they are. They are all there to express a specific mood or feeling of a character, and they're trying to layer in some dimension to the thesis. I never looked away. I never looked at my watch. I like the juxtaposition between the intention here, which is very firm, I think, and yet it's, like I said, it's very busy on the surface, almost as if it's mirroring the stupid small talk that one makes just to avoid uncomfortable silences. I also like the flutes in the score. They create these fluttery little jolts. It's almost like it's reflecting a racing mind, and you can feel these anxieties churning deeper and deeper as you get pulled into the movie. The movie is not linear, and so the timeline of events is often jostled just enough to blur the lines of reality and fantasy. A lot of the shots and images are meant to subtly disorient the viewer. Are they memories? I think some are, and some of them are more distorted memories, perhaps fantasies, like I said. And often our own reactions distort the events and muddy the waters further. It truly feels like a wedding album or a couple's scrapbook that is filtered through a funhouse mirror, but where some of the glass is broken and maybe, angular. And the whole time I just enjoyed that prickly feeling, almost like it was a new sensation. I am not the biggest Zendaya fan, and I've spoken about that before, but I am going to defend her here in this role because I think there are people that think maybe she's not the best suited to be a romantic lead, a leading lady, in the sense that she's not particularly submissive and she has an androgynous quality to her. She is very talented and she's intelligent. She surrounds herself with the right people, but it's also very calculated. And I think she lacks that perspective, that point of view as a performer. And so she fails to draw me in often. Sometimes she can come off as a little flinty or elusive. But in this case, I think it perfectly serves the character because she almost feels like a symbol more than a character. I think it's important for her to be unyielding and a little bit intimidating to the Robert Pattinson character. And, she's got to be a stable central force of the film. While yes, she is underdeveloped and we're not given much so far as her background or her friends or anything like that, she does have this understated strength and this ability to face her demons with a maturity and honesty that you do not get from the rest of the ensemble of characters. It's that unwavering presence that practically has Charlie going up the wall, because Charlie is very British. He is awkward and a little zany, but it's endearing. He is so riddled with neurosis and anxiety, and I think Pattinson plays up all those mannerisms so naturally and so perfectly because it's a natural extension of him, an exaggerated version of him. But he is fantastic in this. I think he gives maybe the best performance in the movie. He's just engaging all the way through it. He can be funny, he can be pathetic, also charming, and that's important because you need to want to remain with him even when he starts to become a victim to his own weaknesses and he starts to make bad decisions himself. I don't think that Pattinson and Zendaya have great chemistry, but I don't think Zendaya's ever really had great romantic chemistry with a leading male on screen. But again, I think it works here because it creates this weird disconnect. Something is just slightly off. The calm before the storm and all these artistic elements, I think they're weaving together to try and create dimension around the big reveal. Even with Charlie, he works at a museum in this film, and we start to get in his head once he hears the secret to how the world might contribute to the glamorization of certain violence, and how the art world uses that as an aesthetic, and how that affects him, like in a titillating sort of way. So all those little tasty bits I'm loving in the film. Having said all of that, I do think maybe there's a little too much tension placed on this big reveal, and the emphasis on the reactions are maybe a little bit much. And they often feel outlandish without ever exploring. And so there is a section of the movie in the middle where things feel stretched a little bit too thin and feel kind of misty. Even though we muddy the waters here and we touch on certain things, I do wish we probed them, delved into the darker aspects of some of these situations, particularly in the wedding scene. I mean, to me, that is meant to be the big climactic centerpiece. In the same way the party scene acts for All About Eve or Notorious. Maybe my standards are a little high, but I think too much has been telegraphed at this point for the tension to really exist when we're maneuvering through these situations until they eventually spiral into humiliation. So it doesn't quite land. But having said that, I actually really liked the ending to this movie because I think it, like I said at the beginning, it's reframing the rom-com tropes, but with this bitter trauma at the base of it. So it's a meet cute yet again, where we tell ourselves and the person across the table everything that they want to hear, and yet in this particular situation, after all that has happened, it takes on new meaning, new perspectives. This is an interesting one. One of the better films I've seen this year. Yeah, it is a low bar, but I do recommend it. It's gonna be one of those movies that it's gonna put some people off and some people are gonna dig it. But yeah, I think it's entertaining and it's a fun one to talk about. So yeah, that is my review. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to plug my website as always. It is deepfocuslens.com. I'm an artist. I do commission portraits and I also sell prints of my work. If that is something that you're interested in, you can always go to the website below. And
not interested, not interested. Oh, I thought that the movie was pretty crazy. I did. Give me 1 second, let me... How much do I gotta spend?
Vision.
That. Shit. Probably shouldn't buy these, but yeah, I thought the movie was pretty fucking bonkers, Nate. I thought it was pretty crazy. Didn't really like it that much, but didn't overall hate it either. Uh. 261.65. Yep. I didn't hate it, but didn't love it. Oh well, that's... goddamn list. Fifteenth. That's all I've got for today. Go away now.